started watching all of her videos and realized that there's a community that just talks about books, and I was like, what is this magic? And so I started doing that, and I've gone down the rabbit hole, and then I created my own channel, and here we are. Oh, it's been a good time. It's been a good time. And the ending is both satisfying and not satisfying, and I loved that about it. Like, it was just, it made my brain hurt, but like in the best way. Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with books I'm reading because of BookTube. So today we are going to be doing episode 3, the 3rd edition of the BookTube Made Me series. I've loved doing this series and I think it's so fun. So today we're going to be doing the person who really introduced me to BookTube, and that is G from Book Roast. So I stumbled across her channel. I don't even know how. Like, she came across on like a suggested thing, and it was one of her early unboxings, and so I watched it and got really enamored and started watching all of her videos and realized that there's a community that just talks about books, and I was like, what is this magic? And so I started doing that, and I've gone down the rabbit hole, and then I created my own channel, and here we are. So I thought it only time that we do the one that really opened my eyes, if you will. So today we're going to be doing, or at least starting, the books that I am planning for this video. We have 3 this time instead of 4. I love her a lot, but she and I are very different on some of our tastes, but some things are very, very similar, and I always add things to my list because of her. So we have 3 books today. Well, technically 2 books and a graphic novel. And I thought we'd sit down and just kind of tell you the books that I'm planning. So the first one on this list, and also the first one I'm probably going to read, is the first volume of Descender. I picked this up a while ago at my used bookstore, and she loves this series so much. I am still not 100% sure what I'm getting into, but I do know it follows this little robot boy who has like some sort of code in his system that is the same as like these murder bot kind of things, and so a lot of people are out to get him. I don't remember how long this series is, but I know that G adores this series. She's a big sci-fi person, so I needed to get at least one. I've got a couple, I think, on this list, but at least one big sci-fi on this list. And like, I've loved some of the books that I've read because of her. Like, I read the Lumine series because of her, I read the Themis File series because of her, and I loved both of those series. So I'm excited to see how I feel about this one. Plus, I don't have a whole lot of graphic novels just in general, so I haven't read one in a long time. It'd be nice to dive back in. Plus, she's a big reader of graphic novels, so it just felt appropriate on all levels that this should be on this list. So because it's so short, it's probably going to be the first one I read, so we'll see. But this one is the first one on that list. And then the first one that I think I thought of for this video is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I haven't read a Blake Crouch book, but she loves this author. And this is one that she read a while ago, and it's definitely been on my TBR the longest of the books by her that because of her I've put on my TBR that I haven't read. And this one is very kind of like trippy. I think it is sci-fi as well, or partially sci-fi, but it follows a man who ends up waking up and his life is different. So like, he's farther along in his career, but like his wife is different and his kids don't exist, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. So it feels very trippy, very multi-timeline going on stuff, but she loves this book. So I don't have a physical copy of it, but I do have it available from my library on Audible, or on like audio. So I am planning to pick it up. I'm not sure if I can pick up a physical from my library, but if I can, I'll pick that up as well. But this is definitely one that's been on my TBR for a long time because of her. So hopefully I like this author, and like we can see other things, because she adores a lot of stuff by this author. So I think it'd be fun to see if this author's for me. And then the very last book on this list is one that she recently hauled but hasn't read yet. So I don't have really anything to compare it to as far as like her thoughts versus my thoughts, but it is on this list because of her, and that is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. I know that she has read a few Beth O'Leary books and has really enjoyed it, but this is the first book by Beth that I have read, or am going to read. It follows 3 women who are all stood up on Valentine's Day, and it turns out they're all stood up by the same guy. And I think it's the three of them trying to figure out what's going on, and it says it's a rom-com, and I'm just very interested to see how we feel about this. Again, I don't really have anything to compare it to as far as G's thoughts, but she hauled it recently and has loved this author's work, and it sounded really good, so we're gonna pick this one up as well. So those are the 3 books that I'm planning on for this TBR. I'm probably gonna leave this one to last just to get some of the, like, I feel like Dark Matter is gonna be really dark and like make my brain hurt, so I feel like I need to get to that one relatively earlier in the month than later. But these are the 3 that I am planning, so I'll come back to you when I started one or have thoughts on one or something. But let's see what happens. I don't know what's gonna happen in this vlog, but I'm excited nonetheless. Hello, it's me. It's been many days since I talked to you last. I had such good intentions of keeping you updated as I was reading. You know, I was going to start Cinder, and then, like, once I'd started the no-show or whatever book I was going to read next, I was going to come here and tell you my updates as I read them. And that did not happen because I have finished 2 of the 3 books. Yeah. So, let's preface all of this with, I am kind of, I'm still hesitant to say I'm in a slump right now because, like, I feel like I'm not. Like, I feel like I'm reading, but I'm also constantly not wanting to read. Like, I am reading and not wanting to read at the same time, and, like, I go back and forth between, like, wanting to read and not wanting to read, and so, like, it's a weird time. But I was super worried about this vlog because it hit right at the time of this, and I wasn't sure if it would work forcing myself to read books. However, I gave both of these books 5 stars, and this one is now a new favorite for me. So, the first book that I finished was the first volume of Descender, and this one specifically was called 10 Stars. I have now added all of the books to my TBR. I think there are, oh, I just figured this out. I think 6 or 8. It's an even number, and I can't remember which one it is. But there's quite a few more, and I've become obsessed with this. It only took 1 volume, and I was already kind of hooked. So I want to continue reading the rest of the series. I want to collect the rest of the series. And then if I love it, which I think I will, I want to collect the, like, spin-off, which is Cinder, and that's only 4 volumes. So I think, like, a total of 12 or something like that. And I think that'll work really well. There's nothing particularly specific about this plot or the characters or anything like that that would make sense for me to love it as much as I did, but I did. Especially because, like, the art style itself is just generally okay. Like, I don't have any kind of specific attachment to it. I feel like some of the art works really well, and some of the art I feel like is a little too, not vague, but, like, not specific, not detailed, I guess. So, like, the art style I can give or take, but the story is where I'm at. So we follow this little kid right here. His name is Tim, 21. Tim is one of the many robots in the series that are called companions, and they are literally assigned to a young kid and is their friend, companion, goes out and hangs out with them. That's kind of what their job is. And so he is specifically assigned to this kid named Andy. And so he and Andy become super, super close to the point of, like, robots can't fall asleep, but Andy's mom, who he ends up calling mom, turns him off at night so he can go to sleep like Andy, and so, like, he can kind of pretend to be like a real kid. And it's actually quite sweet. But the story starts with him waking up on this planet, and there's nobody else alive on the planet. He was put to sleep and never woke up, and I think it's been like 10 years or something. And so he is kind of stranded, and it's been 10 years after the kind of robot wars. There were these big robots, I can't remember exactly what they're called, I'm gonna find it, don't worry. But there are these big robots that basically just showed up on Earth one day and started, like, attacking people. They're called harvesters, is what the like, not humans, but like the equivalent of humans have deemed them. And so they just showed up one day and started attacking people, and then went away. And, like, no one knows what's going to happen, and so everybody's super scared. And so, like, this collection of, like, I think 11 planets or so have been divided. Some are still interested in robotics and, like, learning more about robots, and some think that robots are pure evil and just want them to, like, melt and destroy them because of the robot wars. So we follow a group of people who are on the side of the robots, and actually the creator of Tim 21 and all of the Tims go to try to figure out who he is, but he's also got bounty hunters on his side. He runs into this, like, super cute little, like, robot dog, and then this other big robot that's called Driller, and, like, that's what he does. He just drills into the ground. So he's very, like, simplistic. Like, his word choice is very simple. He's got, like, 3 to 4 words a sentence. Like, that's how much he is, and he doesn't think very highly of himself, but he's there to protect Tim. And so, like, it's all of them kind of coming together, and, like, there's quite a big cliffhanger at the end of this book, so I'm very interested to see where the story could go. This is giving me reminiscent feelings to the Saga series, and I don't know if that's just because that was the other big graphic novel series that was, like, sci-fi that I read. I'm not really sure. I don't actually think there's much of a connection story and plot-wise between the two, so I think that's really why. But I really enjoyed my time, and I loved seeing Tim. I thought Tim was such a cute character because he's really humanized himself, because, like, that's his goal. His goal is to learn from this kid and become more human, have more emotions, things like that, so that he can become a better companion to this kid, and he's done so. To the point of, like, this kid and his mom, like, accepted him into the family. Like, Andy became his brother. The mom became his mom too. And so you really see this cute little kid just, like, stuck in the middle of this war. And I'm very interested to see where we go from here. It wasn't particularly gory, considering that, like, they're robots, and so, like, there wasn't really anything like that, because it's also taken place so many years after. No, I'm not saying it's not gory, because it is, especially, like, later on. There's, like, a specific scene I'm thinking of that's like, whoa, okay. But I don't know, like, I'm obsessed now, and I want to keep reading the series. So I'm gonna see if I can get my hands on the rest of this and continue to read it. But 5 stars, absolutely loved it. I finished this in, like, 2 nights. Like, I started the first half one night and finished it the second night, and I just fell in love with all these characters. Like, there's a core group of, like, 6, and I just love them, and I can't wait to see where the story goes and, like, what's going on, because, again, there was kind of a relatively big cliffhanger at the end of this, and I have many questions. So that was the first one I finished, and it was 5 stars, and I believe that G gave it 5 stars as well. No, she gave it 4 stars, according to Goodreads. So I liked it more than her, weirdly enough, but it was so good. It was so good. And then the next one I picked up was The No-Show. So I had full intentions of, like, starting this book and then coming to you with, like, my initial thoughts, but I got so sucked in that I couldn't stop reading it. So this one, I think I told you about at the beginning, but it follows 3 women, Siobhan, Miranda, and Jane. And they have all been stood up on Valentine's Day by this guy named Joseph Carter. And that's where the book starts. It starts on the Valentine's Day, and then it's him trying to kind of win them all back and things that progress from there. So there's very little plot-wise that I can tell you about this book because of some of the stuff that happens at the end. The twist for this book was phenomenal, to the point of like, I could see it coming if I didn't process it until it happened, and then I saw everything that led up to it. So it was a beautiful plot twist, and then from there you saw all the characters and how they all kind of like, some connected, some didn't, and like we saw everything in a new light, and it was like a good twist. It wasn't, I mean, relatively good twist. So like, I was really worried because I had grown really attached to these characters that like I wasn't going to like them by the end, but the twist made it work to the point of I was happy with how this book ended. I don't know how to tell you about this book without completely spoiling it, but it is perfect for people who love those like multiple year romances. So like, we get the 3 narrators, and it's from all 3 women's perspectives, and I find the way that it was written, especially for how it ended and the plot twist for like what kind of happened at the end, it was fantastic. However, there are multiple trigger warnings. I had to get my list. Hold on. So, in this book, we had trigger warnings for self-harm, general mental health. It doesn't say depression, but I suspect it's specifically depression, miscarriage, sexual harassment / grooming. So just kind of be wary of those. None of those except for, no, not even the self-harm. It's all relatively mild stuff. So like, it happened, but like it didn't happen on the page. So it's more of like the conversations that surround it. But I did want to mention those because I know those are big trigger warnings for a lot of people, but it was more subdued than like what you were expecting when someone tells you that there's a trigger warning for something. But this book, what I loved what it did is that, first off, I fell in love with every single character in this book. Even the ones that like I particularly didn't like at the beginning. I loved every single person in there. They felt like real people. You saw their flaws and like kind of like the pros and cons of every person, and they're all going through something. Now granted, you're in the 3 women's perspectives, so like those are really the only perspectives you see, but all of them are going through something, and there's a lot of fantastic representation. This reminds me a lot of like Emily Henry's books because like it's a beautiful romance, but it's got some really hard-hitting stuff to it as well, and it's not romantic in the sense of like your typical rom-com kind of cheesy story with a lot of like smutty scenes. That's not really what's happening here. Are there some smutty scenes? Not particularly. It's more like this thing happened and they move on. It's very, very clean, if you will, but it's just one of those beautiful multiple year romances, and I cried at the end. I straight up cried at the end. The last chapter specifically, well, the last couple of chapters specifically just kind of like got me in the feels. And I think there's a lot of conversations here of love, friendship, loss, mental health, you know, getting over your past, stuff like that, that I never expected. Like the synopsis you get on this back of here just barely scratches the surface for what this is about, because I expected to go in learning about this super awful cheating guy and how these women rallied together against him, and that's not really what the story's about. It's much, much more than that. And so I don't know. I don't know how to explain how amazing the story was, but I think it's a beautiful, beautiful story that you go in expecting one thing and you come out with a completely well-rounded, beautiful narration that like you never expected, and I just really adored it. It was so good. It was so good. So this is a new favorite. Honestly, if anything taps it this month, I will be surprised because it was just that good. Like, I've even told my mom that she needs to read it because like I just need someone to talk to about it. So like if you've read this book, please let me know. I need to have conversations with people about this book. But I adored it, and now I want to read everything by Beth O'Leary, which is a problem because I think she's got like 4 books out by now, other books out now, and I want them all. So good. 5 stars. If you couldn't guess, if I haven't told you, I don't remember. I'm so excited about this. I just can't even stop talking. But I thought it was fantastic. And yeah, it was very, very good. I have many feelings about it, and I thought it was a well-rounded story, honestly. And so those are my two big updates. I have started Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I'm only the first chapter into it, so like less than 10%, maybe about 10%. And I'm already hooked. Like so this book basically follows this guy named Jason, and he's got a wife and a son. And based on the synopsis, it seems that like he goes to sleep and then one day he just kind of like, something happens and he wakes up and he's not, like, his life is different. So the first chapter basically like follows him and his life, getting to know his wife and his son, and like he's a professor, but he could have been like this fantastic scientist, but his wife got pregnant, and so they ended up getting married, and like he doesn't obviously regret his life, but it took a different turn than he expected. And then all of a sudden he is walking home, or kind of ready to get home, and this man kidnaps him and like leads him to this abandoned warehouse thing, and like that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't really know what this story is going to entail, but it started off with a bang, and like I was already stressed in the first chapter. Now I don't know if this is particularly a sci-fi book. I haven't investigated enough in that. I thought it was, but like I'm getting a lot of like psychological thriller vibes, but the whole possible alternate reality is giving the sci-fi-ness of it. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping to read some more in the next, I'm hoping to finish it in the next couple of days. So I'll come to you when I have more thoughts on it. But like, I'm not even sure where the story is going, but I'm already hooked. And I don't understand what's happening. And like, that usually bothers me. I usually hate not knowing what's going on. But it works really well. And I don't know. It's very good so far, and I'm only one chapter in. So I have a feeling that one's going to be one that I just fly through very, very quickly. So that's kind of my update on where I am now. 2 out of the 3 are finished. Both were 5 stars. The Dark Matter, G gave that 5 stars, so we'll see how I feel once I get to the end of that one. But I'm very interested in it. Like, I was worried going in, but I'm already hooked. So everything sounds positive, so we'll see what happens. I'll come to you when I have like final thoughts, or at least I've read a little bit more to tell you what this book is about. But that's kind of my update now, so I'll let you know when I have more things. But like, oh, it's been a good time. It's been a good time. Hello, 'tis me. I'm gonna see if I can do this before my light completely goes away. But it's been a couple of days since I last updated you, and I've officially finished Dark Matter today. So let's talk about it. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. It didn't quite get 5 stars, and that is because I'm not smart enough for this book, and I don't think it's anything the author did. It's a fascinating story that is very complex, very scientific. They have this whole conversation. I don't even really want to tell you what the conversation or like the scientific elements of it are in case that spoils it, but it does follow, kind of like I mentioned when I brought it up, I think at the very beginning of the book, or the beginning of the vlog, or whenever I talked about it last. I kind of talked about what it was about a little bit, and it's definitely about this guy named Jason who has a wife and has a kid, and could have been this great, you know, scientist, but his wife got pregnant, and so like they decided to create a family, and so they both kind of gave up on their dreams a little bit. He became a teacher and she was an artist, and so now she is a stay-at-home mom that does some art classes, I believe. And so it follows him as he gets basically kidnapped by this guy and taken to a different world where he isn't married and he doesn't have a kid, and he's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And that is literally the first 2 chapters, and that is all I can tell you about the plot because it goes so different. So it was fascinating. I really enjoyed the layers of this book because yes, there's a huge scientific element to this that I'm not sure I fully understand, but I understood it enough for the plot to make sense and for me to enjoy this book. Now, there might have been a paragraph or a couple of pages where they really dove into like the science topic of what this, like the big thing that this book follows, and I just missed that, or I was spacing out for some reason. But there's just a lot of like sciencey stuff that's happening, and I was like, well, what is going on? And it's a psychological thriller for sure. It's definitely sci-fi, and what I thought would be like the end, like the big climax, the end, is only like the first half of the book, and then it takes a totally different turn, and the ending is both satisfying and not satisfying, and I loved that about it. Like, it was just, it made my brain hurt, but like in the best way. The way that I like can relate this to is it reminds me of Marvel, in the sense that all of the like superhero and supernatural alien things, other planet, all of the crazy Marvel worlds that take place are all based in some kind of scientific fact. Like, even down to, for example, Captain America. Like, he does have all these like superhuman strength, superhuman all this stuff, but the way he got it is a very scientific approach. But it still has this air of like fantasy to it, because it's, you know, it's almost not believable. How can you have these superpowers and things like that? How can you be from a different planet, depending on whatever movie it is? That's how I felt about this book, where like everything is steeped in scientific fact, and there's even like this whole section at the end of the book where Blake goes into the big like topic that he discusses in this book and how it's like actually based in scientific fact and stuff like that. But it has this layer of like worst case scenario to it, which makes it feel like fiction, and like this can't be our future, but like scientifically speaking, it could be. And so I found that really interesting, because like that aspect of it broke my brain a little bit, but like in a good way. There's not a lot I can tell you about this book because of like the trippiness of the plot and how I don't want to spoil literally anything, because like the back barely even talks about what this book's about, for good reason, because like all the twists and turns that happen is just, it's crazy, and I love every second of it. But like every time I thought we'd reached like the end of like the craziness, like it got trippy, and I was like, okay, we've reached the end of the trippiness, there'd be like another level or another layer added on, and I was like, okay, now we gotta figure out what this is about. And I think that's just adult sci-fi, and I haven't read a lot of adult sci-fi thrillers like this before. So I will definitely try other things by this author. There's a couple of books, like there's one that he wrote, I think it was after this one, it was called Recursion, I believe, and there's some kind of, it gives me similar vibes to this book, and I don't want to read it right away. I think my brain needs a break from the science and the trippiness of what I just read, but I definitely would give that a try. So, is Blake Crouch a new favorite author for me? No, but I do enjoy his stuff, or at least I've enjoyed Dark Matter specifically, so I will give his other stuff a try if it sounds good, like Recursion does for me. So I'm still a little reeling, honestly. Like, I'm not 100% sure what I just witnessed, or what I just read, you know? So, moral of the story with this vlog. I ended up giving one book, so Descender Volume 1 was, I liked 0.5% star more than G. She gave it about, well, she gave it a 4, so I don't know if it was a 4 or a 4.5, but according to Goodreads, she gave it a 4, so, and I gave it 1 to 5. She hasn't read The No-Show, so I don't really have anything to compare it to, but I did give that one a 5, and then she gave Dark Matter a 5, and I gave it a 4.5. So, overall, the things that I have become interested in, including like if I'm looking at things like the Illuminate Files series as well as the Themis Files series, things like that that I've also picked up in the past because of G, the things that I'm interested in are good. Like, every time I pick up something, not everything that she reads sounds interesting to me, because she likes thrillers and psychological thrillers and things that are more dark and more focused on emotions and stuff, and there are just some books that she likes that I know that I'm not going to enjoy. But out of the books that she does like that sound good to me, all of the ones that I have tried have worked. So I think our reading tastes mesh in the sense of like, if she recommends a book or is talking about a book that she enjoyed and the concept of that book sounds interesting to me, then based on this vlog and like past experiences, I'm most likely going to like that book, which is really exciting, because like maybe I'm not going to always want to read all of the books that she loves, but at least the ones that sound interesting, I know that I can go in and most likely will enjoy. So that's promising. So this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed the 3 that I read. I was hoping to get some more sci-fi things in because I know that's kind of her favorite genre, and that's one that I don't read a whole lot about, but it is her fault that I got interested in sci-fi to begin with because of the Illuminae File series. That was the first like real sci-fi book that I'd read in maybe ever, and I read that because she enjoyed it. I just had it interesting. So I'm excited that like the sci-fi work, because again, I haven't read sci-fi in such a long time. I thought I would enjoy Beth O'Leary's book to some extent, because like it is technically a romance, so I figured if she enjoys that author, then something about that book is probably going to resonate with me and probably I'm going to like. But I wasn't sure about the sci-fi ones. I thought I would like to send her, but I wasn't sure, and Dark Matter was the one that I was the most worried about. But I'm glad that I enjoyed some sci-fi because I haven't read any in a very long time, and it's not a genre that I feel like I need to read more of, but it's nice to know, like it's nice to get some sci-fi in here and there, you know? So I would consider this a huge success considering that the lowest rated thing I gave out was a 4.5. So fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I know it was less books than usual and a lot less b-roll. Sometimes in like these types of vlogs, I try to do things that booktuber would do, and I wasn't really sure what to do because like her vlogs are very much like like sit down portions, not necessarily b-roll portions. So I guess without meaning to, I actually did kind of record bits like her. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this vlog. If you enjoyed them, if you didn't, let me know your thoughts. And if you have read some Beth O'Leary books, which ones are your favorite? Because I need to put those other books that she wrote on my TBR, so I'm trying to figure out which ones I should prioritize. So let me know your favorite. Or if you're not and you're a sci-fi reader, what is your favorite sci-fi? I am in a sci-fi mood, so I'd love to put some new things on my TBR. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you would like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video.